Hello and welcome back to Ride Rescue. In this episode, I want to get all of this sanded and prepped and ready for primer. Put the doors on for one last time. It's before I finish up all the body work and prime it and get it ready for paint. Because now's the time, if there's anything off a little bit, I'll need to cut and weld and do whatever I need to. But it is perfect. Perfect gaps, perfect door alignment. Whenever I'm doing an area like this, I want to rough it up real quick. I'll use a 36 grit sandpaper, and it cuts through real fast. Once I knock it all down, then I'll get some. We got 80. So what I'll do is look across the flat spot and make sure I have that perfectly straight. And now I need to go back and do this gap. So yeah, this is exactly where I want it. Well, all these contour areas, very time consuming, very difficult to get. You just can't really get any equipment in there that can speed things up. Get a good feel for it, doing it all by hand. Try to take it to the point where I see metal. Trying to see a little bit through. It's a little bit tight right here. This is perfect, so I need to open this up just a little bit more. Okay, that is perfect. So I just need to round that edge off a little bit. I'll take this edge around similar to what the rest of the OEM contour is. Perfect. Now that I have this exactly where I want it, the rest of these areas aren't that critical. It's just a matter of getting them smooth so that they look natural. And I'll do the same thing with that area. Come along great. Okay, it's done. If I look really close, you can see some little pin bubbles. When I prime over all of this, that primer should fill all those little holes. If not, I can just skim over them with a little filler, just some really lightweight filler. But yeah, I'm seeing some little bubbles along this edge too. But like I say, the primer should fill all that. Put a little guide coat over the primer, sand it until the guide coat's gone. And that area's ready. Now I will do the same thing with that area. And then I will move on to that. So I will have to take the door off. And I might end up making this, just a few mils thicker, which could throw off the door adjustment. So I might have to change a little bit. Hopefully I can just take all that up in the adjustment of the hinges. There was a crease right here I just could not get smooth. So I was really fortunate I won't have to do any body work to the front here other than this corner. So I'm going to do this little area anyway. So I just put some skim coat of filler on here real quick. I'll sand it down. Once it's sanded, I've got pretty much everything else ready. I got a little spot I need to touch up, and then it's ready to prime and get it all sanded and ready for paint. work to the cab is finished. Got the cab corner all sanded, and I just did a skim coat over all the welds along here so I can smooth those out, even though they'll be covered up with trim, just to give it a nice finish if anybody ever did peek under the trim. I've got the center post all sanded and finished, and the A-pillar and roof, and the hinge area. So this is all ready now to prime, but before I can prime, I need to sand all of it. I want to sand all the black coating down to bare metal on the surfaces that are going to get a lot of sun and weather. On the inner areas where it's not really exposed, just a real good scuffing I think will be good for that. But at these outer areas, I know with the older coatings, they didn't hold up very well, and the paint didn't stick, didn't really bond. So I want to take that off as much as possible. And then I'm going to epoxy seal it all. And then after just a quick coating, just a thin, light coating of epoxy, I'm going to put a primer surfacer over the whole area. The epoxy primer takes days to cure hard enough to start sanding. So by using it just as a sealer, then I can coat it all with a filler primer, and then that filler primer is ready to sand within just a few hours. And that filler primer will fill all the deep sand scratches and any imperfections that are in the finish itself. Like this area here, there's some little dings and dents just from handling. So that filler primer will smoothen all that out. One thing I did get prepped and ready, but I haven't gone back and finished yet, and that's the spot welding of this top seam. I did a panel bond on these edges. That panel bonding is amazing. I've got some panel bond residue that is squeezed out of the edge, and it's gotten onto the painted surface. I thought it would just come right off. I got little flicks of filler, the body filler, on the paint, and I can just flip it right off. But this epoxy panel bond, it's amazing. I can't get it off. It has to be ground off. Even regular sandpaper hardly even touches it. So I feel really good about this being bonded. I welded this seam. Now I'm going to go across the top and spot weld. I bought a inexpensive Harbor Freight spot welder. I've heard of guys that are using these. They don't get a whole lot of welding, and I think what it is they get super hot and they burn up. So if you do get one of these and you use it, just do a few spot welds, go on to something else till it's cooled down, and then you can come back and keep spot welding. But if you just go into continual use, they burn up. And it's really heavy. Yeah, definitely want your goggles, and may even want leather chaps. That actually burned all the way through. Don't need to leave it on very long. I even got a spark through the top of my glasses, so I would highly recommend a good shield. And a hat. For sanding all the black area, I start out with 180, and 180 will give me a really good scratch so that the epoxy bonds really well. And then the outer coats I'll sand with 220 and then step back to about a 400. Red Scotch Brite works great for just knocking the shine off. Reasons I didn't cut this off is because I didn't want to end up damaging all the seal and the primer and the coatings that are on this rocker panel and end up having some rust issues. But now I have a seam right here. On the outside, no big deal. On the inside, that's all exposed now. And I bought some primer that will go up in the inside of that. It's one of Eastwood's products. I got it green because all the inner structure is green, so that way it will match. Not that anybody will ever see it, but I just experimented on the back side here, and it's a little greener than the original, the factory, but it looks pretty good. Okay, it sprays out. There's about 5 different holes, so it squirts out all around. So I'm just going to have to kind of work it in there, and it will probably end up dripping out from some of these drip holes. But should be able to do it in 2 coats. And I'm going to put my glasses on just in case one of them comes out and gets me. Yeah, it sprays. It's not the prettiest in there, but what I'll do is I'll just mist it with the regular spray nozzle, let it dry a minute, and then I'll put a second coat on it. And then hopefully I can get the camera in there with a little bit of light and you can see what it does. But it looks pretty good. Better than nothing at all, that's for sure. I'm going to put the hose down in some lacquer thinner and get just enough lacquer thinner inside the hose to rinse it. So now you can see the back side of the weld. Very nice coating. It's a little runny and gloopy, but definitely got a good seal back there. Thanks for checking out my channel. I'm here to learn, to teach, and hopefully to inspire. So hit my subscribe button. I really appreciate you subscribing. Leave me a comment. I love hearing from you. If you like what I'm doing, please give me a like. Thanks again for watching.